Couldn't have asked for better than that, huh? Beautiful. I think he's very dark. Old fellow. He seems to have a slight limp on his right shoulder. And I believe that our sighting is not entirely new to you, that Steph and Jamie have in fact spent quite a lot of time with him and noticed this limp that he has before. Not sure where he would have got it. He's probably tripped on something, or he may just be arthritic and old, you know. Sorry, I don't want to follow him off road and give him a fright. This is a very thick bush down through here. I think I've spent some time with this old fellow before as well, you know. But he didn't have the limp when I saw him about 3 weeks ago. I spent quite a long time with him just near Twin Dams. And I don't believe he had that very noticeable limp in his right shoulder. It looks like his right shoulder to me that's giving him trouble. Yeah. It's the first time I've ever seen that. He's eating gori. That's amazing. So everybody, throughout this winter I've been saying that look at the green bushes. The green bushes that you can see are gori bushes, and nothing will eat a gori bush. And there, as you can see right now, he is eating an Natal gori, which perhaps is slightly less bitter than than its cousin, the magic gori, but it is certainly a bitter tree. So that's just a testament to how little there is for him to eat. I've never seen that before. Now the thing with too much tannin, you see, is that it starts to stop you up. And indeed that's what things like black forest tea are meant to do. So if you've got a bit of the runs, you can drink some black forest tea and it's supposed to help you with the, no, sorry, that's the other way around. But tannin, certainly in black tea, is supposed to help you in the stomach. But that basically means that you can't have too much of it. It does tend to stop you up. Yeah, let's have a look here quickly. I can probably keep him in the picture. This is what he was eating when we arrived here. And these are new combretum leaves. But they're kind of crispy new. They're not. They don't feel like the velvety new ones. And they taste much less tanniny than the adults, than the sort of mature leaves. Difficult times for herbivores. Not very delicious, but not too bad. I think we'll leave him peacefully grazing off there into the sunset. Browsing, not grazing. So Karuna's tracks, I'm afraid, have not come out anywhere where I'd hoped they would. We're still... it's getting quite dark now, so she may... Well, not dark, but it's certainly starting to cool, and it's getting a bit later, so she may start to move around. So we're still around that area. I've been driving sort of very slowly around this general area, hoping to hear some... hoping to hear some alarm calls perhaps, but nothing's popped up yet. But like I say, it has been a very nice reintroduction to the Lowveld, a beautiful afternoon. And I believe Brent was sitting with a wonderful vulture's nest just after we were discussing them, and what a privilege that is. I believe there was a chick in the nest. That of course is will start to happen more and more now as we go towards the spring. The birds will start to breed. The weavers will get their summer plumage, beautiful bright yellows. The widers will get their long tails. and of course all the migrants will eventually come home. And I'm sure there must have been, while I was away, there must have been the sighting of a WildEarth eagle somewhere around here. They're the first sort of sign for me that spring is on the way. Yes, there are other birds that come first, like the yellow-billed kite, but when the first WildEarth eagle, the flying cross, comes over the sky, it's always a bit of a thrill for me. So I wonder if you can tell me if anybody's actually seen one while Brent and I were away. You got tracks there, man?
Unsure. Could be old.
We spotted some sort of tracks, but unfortunately not kurulas. So stop and have a listen here. I'll tell you what I can hear. I'll have a look at the sun through that gory bush and I'll tell you what I can hear. I always like to just stop and have a listen, especially as the seasons start to change, because every night there's a subtle difference in the sound. At the moment I can hear a drongo imitating, a couple of babblers. Some green pigeons, that's a nice new one. They have been around but not calling. The green pigeons go choo, 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 choo. And that drongo, I don't know if you can hear it. VM, can you hear it through the mic? Choo, 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 choo.
I think so.
That drongo is imitating a francolin. Choo, 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 choo. Can you hear that?
Nicely, yeah.
Very good. Very good job. That's really nice to hear. And there's a beautiful ring-necked dove calling behind us. Alright, let's carry on. What a lovely evening. Nice to be back. That acacia is bleeding as well. You see that?
I already ate acacia today.
Oh, gum as well. I'm just going to nip across there and compare it with the marula gum. We've had the bark a number of times, but I'm just going to see if the gum is the same. There's not much gum, but there's a little bit on this bark. Don't turn your nose up at me like that, BM.
No, what to do? Put all the bark on
It's
that.
actually really nice. It's sweet. There's a difference. But there it goes quite bitter. Oof. Oof. It's like the opposite of a sour worm. You know those sour sweets that you get that you are initially sour and then sweet? That was very sweet to start with and then unspeakably bitter. Oh,
I would say it tastes like dust with a pinch of lemon.
yes, I'd say it tastes like dust with a pinch of bile. That's really not very good at all. I might have to rinse my mouth out. Excuse me. Right, well, we won't be trying that again. Like I was saying earlier, I don't think I finished. You don't go into the wilderness and try that unless you know exactly what you're eating.
What were we eating?
I don't suppose suppose I told you that, did I? Starting to get a little bit cooler now as the sun sets. And I still think that it's unusually hot for this time of year. I think it's probably 2 degrees hotter than it was on average in the years that I've been around here. It can get warm in August, but it's been hot. Ooh, that was bitter. And then from Canada, as you, Kathleen, you're obviously watching us eating this gum, and so you want to know if there's anything like a maple tree out here that we can tap a delicious tasting syrup out of. Certainly not the knobthorn, but no, Kathleen, nothing that produces sap that makes a syrup like the maple tree. But we do have a palm called the Ilala palm, and then there's the wild date palm and various palms that you can tap for the sap, and then you make apparently quite a nice wine. I've never tasted the wine, but you can make quite a nice wine from it. I don't think it's very strong, which apparently makes quite a refreshing drink. We don't get Ilala palms in this area, although they are stands. And that it's an interesting one. Kathleen, you talk about the maple, and obviously that makes a very delicious syrup. And I've had long discussions about cuisine and what people eat out here and why they eat what they do out here. It's another good example of how in many parts of the world there are lots of different fruits and things that produce lots of juice, and perhaps other plants that produce sap and liquids from which time the tree is in fruit, and you can make very delicious things from marulas, jams and preserves. You can make quite a potent beer from them, and obviously they cure marula cream from marula. Well, it's very little marula in it, but they do use it. Other than that, it's not a huge amount, but for very isolated in terms of delicious fruits. Wildebeest. Why are you known as the wildebeest? And for some of you who don't know, Viam is known as the wildebeest. Viam, why are you known as the wildebeest? Birth.
Yeah.
Birth.
Something to do with wildebeest too.
So I don't know why Viam is called the wildebeest. I will try and get it out of him later today, and then I'll inform you. So I don't know why Viam is called the wildebeest. Suffice to say that Viam does not look anything like a wildebeest. But suffice to say that Viam does not look anything like a wildebeest. Nor does he run like one. Viam recently took up running, and while a very elegant runner, he doesn't run with quite the same. He's not able to just. We do now have to try and here in the bush. Earl's cooking does tend to render us fairly shapeless fairly soon. That sun is something else. I'm just going to go a little bit quicker to try and get to the corner here where we'll be able to look out over the Drakensberg, and I want to see how far the sun has moved south since we left. Because obviously it's coming south. For those of you who perhaps don't know, as the season progresses, so the sun will move from where it is now probably to about there come the midsummer, and then it'll, and that's obviously because moving around the sun and the angle at which it's tilted. you would like me to explain that in more detail, send us through a tweet or an email, and I'll do it while we listen and smell this magnificent evening that is starting to develop here. Favorite viewpoints. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Gee whiz. Okay, so I don't know if you can see in the pictures. VM, can you sort of zoom in onto the mountain horizon and let's see if we can get any of the mountains there. You can see them outlined there. So the mountain outline that you can see, that's that sort of palish bit that you can see underneath there. There we go. Thank you, very well done. The sun was setting in the middle of winter. It was setting to the right of your picture. So right where you can see the slope of the mountain heading down on the far right-hand side of your picture. That's where the sun was setting in midwinter. In fact, quite a long way to the right of that. And you can now see it moving steadily south as the days progress, and I think that it will be pretty much, well, it'll be definitely out of picture. If we were to zoom in on that in a month from now, I don't think you'd see the sun at all. It would be further to the south, which is further to the left of your picture. That is really spectacular. And I'm afraid it's so red like that because there definitely seems to be quite a lot of fire in the bush out at the moment, and mainly in the community lands where they're burning in the hopes of creating a green flush in expectation of the first rains. But I think people are burning way too early because I think the rains are going to come late. Vian was just saying to me, look, it's just touching the mountain there. Vian was just saying to me, when do I think that the first rains are going to come? And I said, well, I thought middle to late November, and he said, give me a date. So I said 20th of November. So that's my prediction. Viam, what do you think?
10 October.
10th of October. Viam is the optimist. So it'll be interesting to see when it does come. It's like I've said before, while we watch this gorgeous sun disappear over the mountains, the concept of an average rainfall in Africa is actually a bit of a misconception, because it's so variable that to say that we have an average rainfall here of about 350 to 400 millimeters, it's probably about 400 millimeters, 450 millimeters. You know, some years it's going to be as low as 150, and in real drought years, and in other years it's going to be as high as 800. So it really does fluctuate hugely. And quite apart from the fact that it affects the bush out here, it's also affected the way people have learned to live in this harsh environment. And it's meant that things like regular crop growing and animal husbandry and large sedentary societies have been almost impossible to maintain with a climate like it is. And you throw in the mix there of things like malaria, and certainly in the past trypanosomiasis, or sleeping sickness, which came from the tsetse fly. If you throw that in as well, you can see why living out here as a sort of a human being, around about when Mapungubwe, which I chatted about earlier, was around in 900 AD, to maintain a society of that level for any length of time in this climate was extremely difficult. And that's why in this particular area we've had very little in the way of large sort of technically advanced civilizations. So the biggest civilization this area has ever known it only had 100,000 people, and they didn't survive there for very long, and that was purely because the environment just simply didn't allow for it. Last little volcanic ember disappearing over what is known as Mariepskop, which is the highest point of the Drakensberg in this area, just above the dubious settlement of Hoedspruit. That's wonderful. Never get sick of that. And gone. So every night while we were filming, and every morning, I made sure that I got the sunrise and the sunset. And so I suspect when I come to editing all that footage, I'm going to get a little sick of it. But I just can't resist pointing a camera at the beautiful African sun as it comes up and then when it goes down at the end of the day. All right, let's carry on. All right, as we drive along, still hopeful for Karula, we'll head back across to Brent and see how he's doing. He's in the bowels of Arethusa, and I will see you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, such an awesome little interlude with a vulture, and then you're off to a very tall giraffe who maybe was possibly feeding on an old thorn. We're busy checking the area around Impala Plains, a favorite area of Shadow and Sandile. We've checked around Red Dam, almost completely dry. So I'm hoping they might have moved into this area. At the moment, no tracks, but we will keep checking. Right time of the day to find an animal moving, or an animal like a leopard or a lion moving. So we're going to move onto this nice little open patch here, and there's some. I heard one zebra kept following him around. Now I'm sure someone has told you guys why all of a sudden at this time of the year we have this influx of zebra, and let's see if anyone out there, of the viewers, can tell me why we all of a sudden have this wonderful influx of zebra. And we do have a lot of zebra around at the moment, often they're little harems. And you can send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Why now at this time of the year have we got this influx of zebra into Djuma? Definitely my kind of traffic jam. So zebras are hindgut fermenters, and you can see they all look like they're really fat, and they can be quite misleading when they do lose condition, because they all look like they're very healthy, and that's because of their digestive system. They're also incredibly flatulent animals, so when they run, they make a lot of noise when they run. We'll just leave it at that. And I did ask you guys to help me out, as why is zebra's mane standing? We can see there beautifully there as he turned back to look at us, that upright mane of a zebra. And Raisa tried to help me out and do some research, but unfortunately she wasn't able to come up with anything. I really do appreciate that, Raisa. Definitely going to have a chin wag with the other guides, see if they've got any theories. One possibility for me